Previously, we talked a little bit about how workflows are very good at solving. So I'm going to use the word workflow. You can imagine it's an AI workflow or workflow. That's just basically the bigger set of the things we're talking about. But yeah, so they're very good at predictable tasks. But even though you have to program everything out. But not all problems are built the same. So some problems can have arbitrary number of steps, right? So imagine if you're looking for a number of SF engineers in SF, those numbers can change all the time. And maybe you want to look at a certain thing about them and you don't find it in the first website. You have to look in the second, the third, the fourth, and you have to evaluate that, like if this is found, but what is this? It could be like more of natural language stuff or something even more complicated. I would recommend trying the Lovable course, where we basically build websites and tools. So, how can you program using a workflow? Like, I'll let you think about it. How can you program using a workflow and making a website? Like, oh, if this code does not break, do this, blah blah blah. So first create a file. Then, if that file doesn't work, um, try doing this. You have to kind of map out all the error space, which is really very complicated because it's like kind of like that thing where the world is shifting beneath your feet 100 times a second. So let's kind of look at like what it looks like and where these AI agents come in. So let's say you have 5 tools, like already written programs. So create file, write file, remove to file, run code, commit changes. And these are just basically, there could be anything, right? So based on website, you could use them in many orders, right? So who has to decide? So normally in a workflow, a human decides to do this. But when you're making such a website that can end up in so many different ways and so many paths can be followed to achieve the end, you cannot predict these orders, right? Because humans, technically, you would have to write them out and it would be crazy. So whenever the order of these tools are going to be used by, let's say, some sort of a AI system, that's when it starts to become an agent. We'll talk about that a little bit, but I want to just kind of hit this point home, that how complicated this is. So imagine this is math, so I'm just going to go over it very, very natural language. But if you have, like, let's say 6 tools, and you want to do one call, that has a potential of being 6, right? So you can either fetch dependencies, run code, run tests. That's like 1. But if you do like 2 calls, that's going to be like a permutation wise, like what is the order you can use? Would be 36, because it would be like, okay, create file, create file, create file, append to file, create file, run code, run tests, commit changes, right? And then you can just basically replace this, and this would get like, it will just go really, really crazy. And it kind of goes crazy to, like, I don't even know what that number is, but it's a very large number. But it's like tools to the number of steps. So it's like taking the power of it. Don't worry much about the math, but look at the combinations of like how many combinations you can create. Like, I used to give this example of like gummy bears. Like, if you have gummy bear colors, and let's say if you have 2 colors, you can, like, how many pairs can you make? Um, but these are like not pairs, these are like steps. So yeah, but even if you have like 3 gummy bears, so you can make, like, let's say you have red, blue, green. So first you can make the pair between red and blue and red and green, right? So that's like the combinations, and they kind of increase if you kind of add one more, or the number of handshakes in a room. Those are combinations, but permutations is the order as well. If you're interested, I'll recommend you. We'll leave some links below on permutation. But it's not necessary to understand AI agents. So you can't program every step or decision. That's where, whenever these tools are going to be chosen, these are going to be chosen by an LLM. So you basically give 300 tools, 400 tools, and say, this is my problem. Give me a solution, right? So a rough example of an AI agent. I am of the opinion that everything is a very overloaded term. So an AI agent, we can start by coming up with a definition that, given a task, completes it without telling exactly what to do. It uses reasoning from an LLM to think about the order of steps and the tools to complete that action, right? So it can basically think about what tools it needs to use and kind of run them autonomously. So let's kind of go and compare the AI agents and AI workflows. So AI agents can handle surprise tasks with extra code without extra coding, right? Workflows need to be set in stone. Can learn new info and improve results over time. So basically, whenever you are typing in ChatGPT, if the ChatGPT messes up, you give it some feedback and it runs it again, right? Because in the prompt, it takes that feedback. Same thing with if you're debugging some code. If you've written code, but normally you would give the error back and it will kind of use that error to come up with something. So the agent has this context about what you've done in the past to kind of give you an idea what you should do next. Like if it's a booking agent, which we'll talk about how you can use it for booking stuff, it would need to know if you've booked a hotel so it can think about, oh, you've done this in the past, so don't do this in the future. Another important thing is like LLMs run on a GPU, which you might have heard there's GPU shortages, there were. I think now it's kind of okay. But workflows run on CPUs, so just regular workflows. The decision making and everything, that's going to be a GPU. And the summarization of the LLM is also a GPU. So if you have workflows, they kind of cost a little bit less if they're just plain workflows. So now what we're going to be doing is building our first no-code AI agent with Relevance AI. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're going to be building, but it's going to be building a tool that basically collects all the billion-dollar companies and gets their CEOs and gets their net worth and maybe combines them. And then you can see here that it took 8 steps because there were around maybe $7 trillion companies. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, so in the next unit, we will build an AI agent, a very basic one, and then we can just have this framework of how to build them and the tools you can use, and then I'll let you build your own tools.